everybody, welcome back to my channel, Fixing It Up with Sandra. In case you're new here, I'm Sandra, and today we're gonna do probably one of my most popular candle, I don't wanna say recipe because the one candle that I make that I get the most questions about is the Fruit Loop candle that I make using a bowl. And people always ask me, how do you make such realistic, there's an extension cord right there. How do you make such realistic looking Fruit Loops? This was, again, I have said this in a few of my videos, I am the queen of what not to do. So I made a lot of Fruit Loops that I didn't care for until I finally found Chef's Kiss, the perfect mold. Let me just say, it was a pretty penny when it comes to molds. And so it is an investment. It's not a whole lot. It's under $30, or I don't know now. It was $30 when I purchased it. It could be more, it could be less. But when it comes to mold, that is pretty expensive, especially when you can find ones on Amazon for like $5. So while we are waiting for the wax to heat up, I'm going to show you, let me actually get a glove on because the coloring that I have from Candle Science, like the tips are, you can get your fingers all icky. So anyways, I'm going to show you, it's not perfectly cleaned out, but you'll get the point. So I bought this, I'm going to bring it close. This is the mold that I got off of Etsy that makes realistic looking Fruit Loops. And I only purchased one. I would love to have two, but I only purchased one because it is pricey when it comes to molds. And as someone who creates on a budget, and let me first and foremost say that I create on a budget. I do not have all kinds of money to run out and buy all kinds of things. So I am very aware and conscious of when I spend money for crafting. So anyway, so I bought this. Let me see if I'll run back there and grab the mold that I originally started out with. And I thought, oh, this is gonna work. I bought it off of Amazon and I'm gonna show you the difference. Okay. These are the Fruit Loops using the realistic mold. I'm trying to get them laid out in my hand so you can really see the texture. I mean, it really does look just like a Fruit Loop. And I might have to come over here and then point the camera down. So these are the Fruit Loops. Let me see if I can turn my hand just a little bit. Can you see the texture on them? It looks just like the cereal. Like I said, I'm going to say it again, texture and all. And then that's what I was really looking for when I started out making the Fruit Loops. And this is the mold that I got. And as you can see here, it is perfectly smooth, no texture, perfectly round. This will work. Let me adjust my camera. This will work, no problem whatsoever. It just won't be realistic looking, you know what I'm saying? I mean, compared to, I'll grab a purple one and I'll grab this one. This, okay? This Fruit Loop compared to that. See the difference? And so for me personally, I wanted realistic. So I invested in this mold. I will put the link in the description box for this mold. Again, when I purchased it originally, it was $30. If it's less, congratulations to you. And I'm going to show you how I make them. I use these little Dixie cups. To me, it's just the easiest way. I do hate when I waste like this, but this is the only way that I've been able to figure out how to do it. And then I have these little like squeezy things, okay? That's all I can think of right now for the name. So what I do not fragrance my Fruit Loops because the candle is already scented. I don't fragrance this because what I do is I just put just a little bit of wax. No, I don't weigh it out. I'm just like, how many yellow ones will I want? And you will figure out, again, through nothing but trial and error, how much wax you're gonna need in here to fill up this little mold. And if you just wanna do like 2 rows of yellow, you may just wanna put just a little tiny bit and we're just gonna go with purple. Just do like 1 dot of purple in here, or maybe like half a dot. Maybe you won't even use a dot. Maybe you might grab a little, your little syringe thing like this, dip it in there and ever so lightly, you'll figure out the color that you want. If you want it a more deep color, you want it a more pastel color, and you'll figure out how much wax. And it really does not take much. And that's why I'm not putting fragrance in here, because you know, you cannot add too much fragrance to wax. You just can't. There's all sorts of reasons. Please do your homework, but you just don't want to do that. And so because it's just the teensiest amount when I'm pouring for here, and I usually do probably 2 to 3 colors, especially if I'm just doing 1 candle. Sometimes I will get ambitious and I will just pre-make a whole bunch of these Fruit Loops ahead of time. Sometimes they're deeper colors, sometimes they're more pastel. Just depends. And so maybe I'll do like 2 rows of the purple, and I'll do 2 rows of the red, 2 rows of the yellow. And so again, it just takes, and I will be demonstrating this, but I'm just saying, it just takes the teensiest bit of wax. I rarely fill it more than halfway, is basically what I'm saying. And so with that, it's best to do the syringe and then take your wax out of there, use a little syringe to pour in, because again, your girl has learned the hard way. Let me pass on my knowledge. I thought, oh, I'm just gonna pour it straight across and then I'm gonna break it up. That's not how it's gonna work. When you break it up, if you do not pour, I'm gonna say almost precise, which is time consuming. If you do not pour almost precise into this mold, you are going to have, it's not gonna come out smooth like this. You see that? It's not gonna come out smooth, whatnot. You're gonna have the flat part of it on there, and I'm going to show you. Let me just go back here for just a moment. I found the perfect example. This is what will end up happening. Do you see that? See that backing on there? And you will have to sit. If you want, for me, I want it to look like real Fruit Loops. I do not want to place this in my bowl. You see how it's got the backing? So you will have to take a tiny little razor or your fingernails and go around and break off the excess wax that surrounds the base of your Fruit Loop. Let me just tell you, that is not fun trying to do that. It is not fun. If you have all the time in the world, God bless you, go for it. That is why we have the bowl of misfits, because I did that once. I thought, oh, I'm just gonna, pour the wax on. What difference does it make? It makes a whole world of difference, especially if you are using a mold similar to this, or this mold in particular. I don't know about any other mold. I did not do that when I used this mold, but I'm just saying, it is not, I'm gonna have to grab that mold. It is not fun. Make sure you are almost precise. It can be tedious, but let me just say, it's gonna save you tons and tons of work in the end. So, okay, we have our bowl right here. I'm just gonna go ahead and peel off that bottom sticker. And I'm going to triple wick this because of the diameter. Again, I have double wicked this bowl thinking that it was plenty. Absolutely not. So it completely tunneled, and this candle does I do charge, I don't want to say a pretty penny, but I do charge for this candle because there is so much work that goes into this. And I use a straw as my wick setter. I don't have anything fancy. Like I said, your girl has figured out how to do things without having to buy extra stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to use some hot glue. I'm going to place these into my bowl. And this glue gun, I have mentioned before, is ridiculously hot. It runs off of like a tool battery. And this one is not to be played around with by any means. Do not get this on your skin. It will burn the daylights out of you. All right, so now I'm gonna let that solidify, and then we're going to go ahead and put our, my brain just stopped. We're going to put our wick holders on here. We're going to get the melted wax and all that fun stuff in just a moment. I'm still waiting for the wax to heat up, so I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, so as you can see, I'm trying to get the camera right. I have just a little bit of dye in here, and I'm just going to, oh so briefly, just get a little bit of wax in here. All right, so I have enough wax, and we're gonna go put this in our Fruit Loop mold. Okay, so now that I have it right here, we're just gonna stir this, get the coloring all mixed. All right, now here's how I fill the mold. Like so. And these are going to, I can tell they're already going to be light pink. All right. Like I said, this is a tedious job. It is nice to go ahead and make some ahead of time, just if you're just trying to like knock these out and you don't want to have to spend the whole time. Like sometimes I'll just do like a whole red one and then let those dry and then come back and do a whole thing of purple and blue and so on and so forth. But this is how I make the little Fruit Loops for the candle. All right, so I've got my melted wax in here with the fragrance oil already together. I'm gonna go ahead and just mix this. And just so you know, this is the Fruit Loops fragrance that I use. I know there's several different candle companies that sell the Fruit Loop fragrance, but I get mine from Sierra Candle and Soap Making Supply. This fragrance right here is soap safe. I know that different companies, even though they're very similar scents, some are soap safe and then some are not. So if you're looking for something that can go back and forth between candle and body products, definitely look for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and stir this. As you saw, I went ahead and poured the Fruit Loops, the red ones, or should I say pink, just because I didn't feel that I had enough in this bag of the pink color. We have to let those solidify probably at least a half hour. Again, it just depends on the temperature of the environment that you're in. So those shouldn't take too long. I'm gonna go ahead and move this out of the way. Bring my bowl this way. So I have my bowl with the 3 wicks. I just use skewers and any kind of tape that I have to make wick holders. There's nothing fancy about any of this. Oops, that wick came loose. All right, let's turn on the glue gun beforehand, before we pour, obviously. All right, so I'm gonna get that wick back down. But yeah, this is kind of an easy candle once you've made it before and, like me, made mistakes. So go ahead and put that. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out of here. All right. And then you do have to let this solidify. This part of, when you pour this, you have to let the wax solidify before you add the Fruit Loops to it. I have been asked, would you put a spoon in here to make it look more realistic, to make it look more fun? And the answer is yes, but make sure you put a big warning on it, because I have never added a spoon to this that I can remember. I think I probably did like in a test one. I can't remember if the spoon will get hot. That's the only thing. I don't remember if the spoon got hot. So if you are putting this in a home where there's children, you know, that's always what I think of. Like, will it catch on fire? Will it become a danger? No matter how cute it looks, you have to think, one, if I put the spoon in there, will it get hot? So do a test candle if you can. Two, if there is a spoon in here, once your candle gets down to a certain point, obviously the spoon's going to be loose. It's not going to be held in by the wax because the wax is going to be melted. Will an animal or a human be able to flick, like accidentally flick that spoon out of the bowl and potentially throw wax all over something, you know? So again, it is totally up to you to put the spoon in. I would only use a metal spoon, no plastic, but I would put, if you're gonna sell it to the public, a huge warning label on it that the spoon is a real spoon. It will become loose. It can become hot, all of the things. And you also have to think of, this is like my absolute nightmare. If a child smells this, and it doesn't have to be a child, if somebody smells this and believes that this is actually cereal, even though it'll look like hot wax, there's a flame, all this stuff, and the spoon happens to be loose, would somebody be tempted to actually slurp this with the spoon in it? And I know that just sounds absolutely ridiculous that we would even have to talk about that, but there's someone out in the universe that just might do it if there wasn't a warning sign, and then somebody can come back to you and say, hey, this is what happened. You didn't let me know, and now I want to take some sort of action. So just please, 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 please always take everything into consideration. When I sell these candles, I make sure that, you know, there is a thing that says, this is not food. Please do not ingest. And again, it's just like how they have the signs on the electric fence. Please don't lick or touch the electric fence. It's because there's somebody in the universe and you don't want it to be your customer that could do that. So there's your answer in long form about adding a spoon to your Fruit Loop candle. All right. And that is why I'm not adding a spoon to this. I just have way too many nightmares, and I try to be very aware and think of all of those things before I make a product. So yeah, and that spoon, even though it would be super cool looking, to me personally, it's not worth the risk for my business. Okay, I'm just making sure that these are all closed. Toss that over there. All right, I think, okay, we're gonna put this little sky back on, like so. And just make sure that your wicks are all like in the place that you want them to be. All right. And again, just a skewer that I have right here. All right, I keep stepping on that cord. And just like so. This smells so good. Because this wax is already white, I do not need to add any coloring. I am just going to go ahead and pour. It will solidify. And then we are good. All right, that's basically, only reason why I'm wiping this out is because there's like a couple of little black specks that I don't want to ever get into a candle. All right, this has to solidify. This has to solidify, and then we will be right back to decorate the top, and I'll show you how I do it. All right, guys, we are back, and the candle is a little soft, but it is solidified, and so are these Fruit Loops. And I'm going to go ahead and point the camera down even further because I want to show you the unmolding. All right, so we are so crooked. Okay, like I said, one day I'm going to be able to afford an automatic camera. All right, so I'm just going to pull it. I just push it out like that, and then they come right out. There we go. So there's one. And then, like I said, these are more on the pink side, which is totally fine by me. I'm not super like concerned about the colors. Some are dark, some are lighter. As long as they're colorful, you know, people will pretty much get the idea when they see and smell the candle. Okay, so they just pop loose like so. And then whatever I don't use, I'm just going to put back into this baggie. All right. How many should I pop out? I think that will be good enough for this candle. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a handful of the other colors. Okay. There we go. Now, the thing with this, I guess I should get a pair of tweezers, because sometimes when they flip over, you want to put them the right way. And okay, let's see if I have tweezers in here. I do. All right, here we go. So again, my bowl has for the most part solidified, so I'm just going, it is soft to the touch, so I'm just gonna heat the top. I don't want those to get hot. Okay. And we have enough of a melt pool in here to where it's not going to solidify while I'm trying to lay in these Fruit Loops. And as you can see, I'm doing them individually. You can take them and go like this, but then there's some, like I don't want all of them to be upside down, you know, but you do want it to be somewhat realistic looking, like so. Okay. And then, yes, some are laying on top of each other, so that's what I'm fixing. And again, I don't have a whole heck of a lot of time to work with it because I didn't melt, like, see the top part is already starting to solidify just a little bit, but that's okay because I'm going to show you what we're going to do. And there are some Fruit Loops on top of one another, and I'm going to show you what I do with that. All right. And you can put as many or as little Fruit Loops as you see fit. If you want to weigh out your Fruit Loops before you put them on so you can get an accurate weight for your candle, definitely do so. All right, there we go. I see a couple over here flipped over that I actually want the other way. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna just go ahead and add these two because they're just right there. All right, so I have my candle filled with all of this. So like that. Now, to just make sure, because like I said, some are stacked on top of one another. So I'm gonna go ahead, turn this on low, make sure it's nice and warm. And I'm gonna go briefly over it. Not too much because you don't wanna melt your Fruit Loops, but I get it just nice and glossy. All right. So now whatever Fruit Loops were loose in here are now going to stick to each other because they're lightly melted. And so you're not going to take away the structure of the Fruit Loop. Like I said, make sure that you turn it on low and then just go over it very lightly, basically until you start to see a sheen. And that's what I do. And that is that. Voila, we've got a Fruit Loop candle. And so I'm going to eventually trim the wick probably tomorrow once they're completely solidified. Everything's adhered to one another really nicely. And yeah, that's it. Perfectly done. It smells so good. Now, this candle I am not going to sell for a minimum of 10 days because I want it to completely cure. But again, it would look adorable with a spoon, but because of so many, like I said, things that I think of that could be a hazard, it's just my preference. If anybody wants to add a spoon, go for it. You know what my thoughts are. But super, super cute candle. I love this. And if you're going to want the recipe, you can find it over on my Patreon, where you can find tips, tricks, and recipes for stuff like this. But I've got another candle solidifying, so I'm probably going to make some more Fruit Loops and pop the rest of these out. All right, everyone, that is today's tutorial. I hope I answered your questions when it comes to how do you make the Fruit Loop candle? What fragrance oils are you using? What mold are you using? So again, this is one of my most popular ones. Oh my God, it smells so good. And so, yeah, and if you want more tips, more tricks, the full recipe over on my Patreon, the link is in my bio or in the description box. So anyways, if you like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you have comments, questions, all of that fun stuff, please leave it below. I would love to hear from you on what you think about this. Have you made your own Fruit Loop candle? Do you use the spoon? I want to know. Do you use the spoon? Does it get hot? Have you had any issues? What do you tell people when they buy the candle? I would like to hear from you about that. So anyways, we have this one done. I'm going to continue making some Fruit Loops, and so I can get the other one filled and in the store very soon. And again, I have the link to my website in the description box, and you might be able to find these. I say might because give me some time to get it uploaded to my website in case you want to purchase one. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys again in my next tutorial. Bye, guys.